Today's podcast was filmed and recorded in Artfacts. Go and check them out, they're on Lever Lane. If you want to look good, they got the clobber. If you fancy a coffee, they've got the coffee. What more could you want?
How are we doing, everyone, and welcome to Talking to Mod. Now, today's guest inspired many people, including myself, into getting into magic with his sets. His father happened to be one of the most well-respected magicians about, and not only that, he's also the president of a club that I'm involved in, the Magic Circle. Ladies and gentlemen, Marvin Berglas. How are you?
Yeah, cheers, man. Lovely to be here.
Honestly, it's an absolute honour because, as you know, I started magic at 6 years old, and my magic set was, first of all, I had a Paul Daniels magic set, and of course, many of your sets. And when I first met you at the Magic Circle, which we'll talk about later on, it was as if I was like, hang about, this is the guy I remember seeing on all these boxes. And it's just a lovely moment, just me meeting you, because as I said, me, like many other people, you inspired so many people to get into magic. So I want to thank you for that first.
Well, thank you very much. It really feels great. I hear that a lot, actually, and we literally have inspired probably millions of young magicians around the world over the years. And what's really nice is some of them have gone on not just to become hobbyists, but actually professionals, you know. And so some of our past demonstrators, it's like a who's who of magic. It's incredible.
It's a beautiful feeling. I found magic at 6 years old, but you were literally born into it, weren't you?
Well, I came from a magical family. I've been doing magic since about 8, maybe 8:30. What time is it now? Now, my magic's better than my comedy, don't worry about that. But yeah, my dad was really respected, well-renowned magician. Even before I was born, he'd had his own TV series. He was the first guy on commercial TV series to have his own series on commercial TV. And he is, I suppose, the Bobby Charlton of magic, or Dumbledore, or whatever you want to say. You know, he's well respected. And so, but you tend to actually rebel against what your folks do. So, you know, there wasn't a great deal of magic at home, and I wasn't really that interested as a young kid. I know I got a bit older, maybe 15 or 16, and I really got into it, you know.
And you just said there that your father was like the Bobby Charlton of football. Now, whenever I hear anyone talk about magicians, magic, tricks, anything, now your father's name always pops up, because he really, like, for someone who doesn't know, he was up there. Like, I mean, the Berglas effect is a trick that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
But he was literally, if you don't mind me saying, in a league of his own, because I thought he was untouchable from everything that I've seen. Now, you might have some different.
No, I mean, it's great to hear that, and it's only growing up that you hear that from other magicians and well-renowned magicians. I mean, you know, I've been lucky enough to be around the world with my dad over the years, and you know, where you got people like David Brain and David Copperfield and you know, and all these top guys, you know, even people like Uri Geller and stuff, and they really revere him and stuff, and loved him as a person as well. And so he has inspired many people. If you'd say it's to Dino, he'd say it's one of his favorite musicians. Darren Brown very much influenced him. So he was ahead of his time for sure, because he was David Berglas is his name, and he really was special. And you mentioned the Berglas effect. There's only a handful of magic tricks out there that have actually got someone's name in there. The Berglas effect. And for people who don't know what it is, it's like the holy grail of magic, wasn't it? Is what it is. It's a pack of cards, shuffled pack of cards, left in full view the whole time. You'd ask someone, think of a card. You then ask someone else, mention a number. And let's just say the card was 4 of clubs, and they said 17. Said, I don't even want to touch the pack. You open the pack, you count down to the 17th card, and lo and behold, it was their card. And that obviously is the ultimate. There's lots of versions of that, but very often you have to touch the pack. His was without touching the pack, and it was just a very incredible trick. So the Berglas effect was really important, and any card at any number is, or a can, as it's known in the magic only, but the Berglas effect was the hands-off version, which he was so famous for. But I thought, yeah, I got into magic obviously, but I didn't really want to follow exactly in his footsteps. So I wanted to use my first name rather than my last name to make it, you know. So Marvin's Magic was, I like to think we both got to the top in different ways, but and you know, respected for different reasons. But it was great that, as you say, I'm now president of the Magic Circle, and he died about 3 years ago, age 97. But 3 months before he passed, he saw me being elected to become president of the Magic Circle. We're the first ever father and son in the history of 1905, when the Magic Circle was formed, to be the elected president. So I'm chuffed about that.
I can imagine. I mean, as you just said, I've just touched back on what you said. You are both known for being at the top of your game for two different reasons you've done what I'm saying. I mean, I can't say enough how Marvin's Magic itself really has inspired so many people. Like, you go into a magic shop or a toy shop, sorry, Marvin's Magic is going to be there. It's going to be there. I walked through the airport earlier when I got on a flight back from Belfast. It's in the airports. Marvin's Magic is everywhere. That if you want to learn magic, it's there. And it's so accessible to get to, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we call it professional magic made easy. In other words, it looks good, and that people could concentrate on the presentation of it, because we found ways of making it a bit easier, which gives the confidence to people. And magic is a wonderful confidence builder. It makes you the life and soul of the party. It makes you a happy person. And whether you're a child or an adult, you can really have a lot of fun with this stuff. And we thankfully, next year will be our 40th year, believe it or not. And so our brand, thankfully, is now world renowned. And as you say, we run the magic shop in some of the biggest stores around the world, like Hanleys and Harrods here in London, and F.A.S. Schwartz in New York, and Galeries Lafayette, Paris, in Rome, Madrid, and places all around the world.
That must be incredible, though, feeling to know, that something you had an idea, this is what's going to happen, and all of a sudden it's literally everywhere. But am I right in saying that you actually started off demonstrating tricks in the shop?
It wasn't actually tricks. I've always been fairly entrepreneurial and always enjoyed design and art and craft. And when I was about 17 or 18, mate from school, we had this idea of this old product called the Magic Drawing Board. And this is you might have one if you're old enough to remember. It's like a blackboard, and you use this bit of plastic, and then colours could come through and you could draw with it. And it was an old product when we picked it up, but just through nothing more than enthusiasm, I sort of developed a demonstration for that right in front of Hamleys, and redeveloped it to become the top selling product. So I was the top demonstrator in the store, and the opportunity, we then went to Harrods and had about 70 or 80 of these demonstrations at one stage when I was, in my early, well, probably before I was 20, actually, So I was always doing that, and that's sort of how I got into the opportunity of Marvin's Magic,
Now, do you remember the first magic set you ever had, though, as a kid?
The first magic set I had probably was, no, I don't know. I probably didn't have one other than my dad.
Probably you had the best teacher, didn't you?
You did, but you again, it wasn't really what Dad taught me. He didn't really teach me tricks or anything like that. But what he did teach me was the difference in good and bad, like that presentation, and I think that's always stuck with me. How we would. After I'd come back from a gig or something like that, he was always up late at night throughout his whole life. And so I was always at 1 o'clock in the morning, I could give him a call. And the one thing we always agreed about was the state of magic and stuff. We talked about a few things, and yeah, he was so enthusiastic for good magic, and he really did not tolerate bad magic. And I think that taught me a lot in my presentation when I do gigs and stuff about when to be magic and when not to be magic, because you don't want to force upon people. You don't want to do it at the wrong time. And as a magician, people expect you to do magic 24/7, but it's choosing the right moments. And he was a master at that type of thing to make maximum impact.
Were you constantly practicing as a kid, and were you putting on shows? Now, what I mean by that is, when I was a kid, as soon as I learned the trick, I made sure I can do it with my eyes closed, because I find a lot of people, especially as a kid as well, as soon as you learn it, you think, oh, brilliant, I can go and show it. But then I think as a kid, I was very conscious of, if I mess up, the secret will be revealed. So I always practiced, and in my bedroom, I had a whole wall full of mirrors. So I was watching myself 24/7 doing it. But as soon as I got about 5 or 6 tricks, I used to go downstairs and ask my mum and dad, would they like to see the magic show? And if they said yes, I'd then charge them £1 to watch it. Okay. But as a kid, I just loved to perform. And especially, as you said, it was such a good confidence booster, because then from going to my parents' house, practicing the magic, doing a show, to then going into school. And 1 minute no one wanted to speak to me, but then, hey, Barry, he's the magic guy. Everyone wanted to know me. Was it the same for you, putting on shows?
No, it wasn't actually. It's very interesting to hear that. That's quite a, especially to charge your parents.
Amazing. They're having the money as
That's
well.
good. That's good. They were really supportive. I don't think my parents would have paid to watch my shows. Now, I actually, as I said, I wasn't so interested until a lot later. And in fact, what happened? I was at school. Dad had just put out a book and some sort of special pack of cards that allow you to do all sorts of flourishes and stuff like that. And the guy who was going to go with him to this magic convention in Lyon in France got ill, and I got a call from my mum at school. I was in some boring geography lesson at the time. It said, look, is there any chance you could go with Dad to this magic conference in Lyon? I thought, yeah, great. So off school for a day or two, and I went, and he was doing a lecture, and then we had a dealer's table with his book, and it was right at the back somewhere. And being a bit pushy and entrepreneurial, I said, it's too quiet. Let's go somewhere busy. So right by the escalators, I put our pitch there, and then I started. Dad told me the night before how to demonstrate and do all these riffle shuffles and card things and stuff, and waterfall shuffles, and very eye-catching flourishes. And when he came back, I had a huge crowd around me, and he was, he thought, wow. And it sparked something in me as well to show how powerful magic was. And as you say, hey, for become central attention and the life and soul of the party by doing stuff,
100%. I mean, I tell you, I met she's now my wife now, doing magic. I was doing a show in the Shard in London, and she was in London with her friends, and I said, would you like to come and watch me? And I tell you now, if I didn't do magic, I certainly wouldn't have the confidence to go up to a girl who I would think was one out of my league, now live together, lovely kid. And, it's magic's, when I say to people, I don't think people understand a lot when I say magic has literally given me everything, because it has. If I didn't do magic, I wouldn't know what I'd be doing. But I suppose that's like what a lot of people say when they're doing a job. But for me, it's, growing up dyslexic at school, and I wasn't a very brainy person. I mean, I'd like to think I've got a head on my shoulders now, and I'm doing all right. But magic literally gave me, I always wanted to do.
Yeah, magic is a very powerful tool because it gives you confidence, it gives you motor skills, it makes you inquisitive, you learning skills, you give you presentations, it's skills for life. And I mean, even if you only do magic as a hobby, even if you're an older person starting, there's no such thing as an old magician because you're young at heart. And for a kid, they always wanted to learn the next thing and the next thing. And it's a very powerful thing. And my dad used to say to me, when we talk about it, it's a great hobby. It's a tougher profession because you're waiting for the phone to ring and you've got to establish yourself. But if you are lucky enough to make it professionally, it's a wonderful thing. It's a happiness business. We could be doing anything, and we're creating moments of joy and happiness for people, making them feel like young kids again. If you get the little hairs on the back of their neck standing up through doing a great magic trick, there's nothing like it.
It's literally, I've compared, I mean, I'm a massive Fulham supporter. I know you're an Arsenal fan, but I compare it to when you do a trick and you get the reaction where it's like they feel like a kid again at Christmas. For me, that's like scoring a 90th minute winner at Wembley to win the FA Cup, which is never going to happen for Fulham. But that's what I compare it to. And that's what I'm felt. It's at 75 cup final against West Ham, we lost.
Yeah, and Taylor 2 goals. Yeah.
And we nearly won the Europa League, but against Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
But then we lost that little final. But
now I've got a soft spot for my.
You must be loving the season at the moment.
It's very exciting at the moment. But I've been Arsenal's magician since '93, very closely linked with the club. Played for the Arsenal ex-pro celebrity side for 16 years as fullback, alongside some of my heroes and people from showbiz, and music people like Tony Hadley and actors like Ralph Wiffle and snooker players like One Air Sullivan and stuff like that. But then with Arsenal players like Paul Davis and Perry Groves or even Ian Brayley and stuff, it's incredible. So I enjoyed that thoroughly because I had to work hard to play at that standard, but it's actually when you're a good picture, good referees and good players around you, it's actually a little easier. Some of the it's a hot potato. You always controlled the ball, just you had 2 or 3 options where to hit it, and my football flourished, even in my mid-30s.
I never knew that. I knew obviously that you used to be a magician for Arsenal, but I never knew you played in like these celebrity games and stuff like that. I've got a similar story where I used to go to Fulham and get to know a lot of the players really well. So then they would call me up whenever there was parties. I'd done a couple of weddings, and I used to do a lot of tricks at the training ground in Motspur Park. I remember they were talking about this charity game, Fulham Legends versus an all-star celebrity side. And I thought, I've got a chance of getting in there, just in my head. And I remember getting an email saying, would I be interested in playing? And I was playing against my hit Lewis Zaha, for instance, who was like the king of the cottage, Barry Hales, Sean Davis, all these names. I'm thinking, what's going on here? And I ended up playing, and I was on the celebrity side, which they must have got that wrong because I don't know why I was there. But we got a penalty, and Joni Morris used to play for Chelsea,
Yeah.
and he picked the ball up, and I thought, there's not a chance a Chelsea player is going to score a penalty at the cottage in front of the Hammersmith end. I took the ball off him, and I placed the ball down, and I think we had Sam Besant in goal, who was Dave Besant's son. And I thought, I'm just going to smash this. Anyway, I went and smashed it. He saved it, hasn't he? Right, and I never heard the last of it. Got invited the year after and ended up scoring, but it was in front of the away end. But I mean, I still got a goal, which is an amazing thing to say, you know.
Those memories are special, aren't they? You know, I'm lucky enough to score a couple of goals at Highbury, and I loved it. We played all over the place. I really enjoyed that because for me, especially as I was, you know, always busy, entrepreneurial and business wise, and tend to be to be told what to do. I enjoyed those type of things a lot, and actually, they're lifelong friends. I made, you know, tons of these guys. You know, they're legends of my mates now, and you know, still on my WhatsApp group and meet up all the time. Yeah.
No, it's beautiful feeling.
I mean, it's good, you know, with magic, what it actually does, we're able to put our passions with our hobbies and business and put it all together, and it's fantastic, you know. And you, as you say, you're not just a fanboy with the people you admire in music and sport. You're very much on the same level, and they enjoy doing with you. So that's what magic can do, you know.
As you know, I've got another passion, music, and we were talking a bit earlier on about, you know, I've been very lucky to have supported some fantastic names. Paul Weller, the Libertines, and the list goes on, doing magic, which a lot of people go, a magician on tour is unheard of. But you told me a story, and I would like to hear it again because I think it's fascinating.
No, I didn't mean to do one up my shit. This is about my dad, actually, because you were mentioning how you know, got to be in that circle, invited in, and actually supported some of them in the doing stuff backstage, front stage, and on stage, you know. And my dad, there was a comedian called Dave Allen. Some of your older listeners might remember, but he had a weekly TV show. My dad was one of his guests and was very famous for this table levitation. If you ever seen it, where you know, if you ever see magic's where his magic tricks is always in the top 10 of that, and where he gets all his round the table, a big round table, put their hands on it, concentrate on it, and then it would slowly, mysteriously rise and spin round and dance and music. And you got Dave Allen lying across this. Anyway, Mick Jagger, Rolling Stones fame, saw this and thought, like, we must get this guy to open for us, because they could not get a band that their fans like, because they always would say, "We want the Stones, we want the Stones," so they would be very off before the opening band perform anything. So instead, they got my dad on, and he had actually opened for the Rolling Stones. It was just quite amazing, you know?
That's mind blowing. I could like, like when you told me that, I was like, oh, okay. Because that is beautiful. I mean, the Rolling Stones, one of the big. I think it's so lovely though, because you've got one of the biggest names in music, and you've got one of the biggest names in magic coming together. So that is beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, very different genres, probably, you know, for the audience at the time, but it just shows how you can get people's attention through magic and different, you know, things like that. So that was a great story. And yeah, it's one that I look back, you know, as a kid, sort of waving him off when he was doing his shows, and realized he was doing that type of thing. He's amazing. I mean, you know, when we were a bit older, we used to go around backstage and see some of his shows, or TV studios or whatever. And, you know, you had some very privileged moments as a kid, which you don't actually realize until much later. Like, my dad worked on quite a few James Bond films and that type of thing. So mostly on the sets of that, you know, or the charity show. There was this, these dancers called Pan's people. As a kid, that your tongues were hanging out with these girls, and to sort of meet them, and it's just unbelievable, And so I loved all that sort of stuff to it. But we met some pretty interesting, and the magicians. I remember going to a magic conference called FISM, which is like the Olympics of magic, and one of the first ones I went to with my now wife, but we were with my mum and dad. We went on this boat trip, and there was these giants of magic. Now Harry Blackstone Jr., Mark Wilson, Marvin Roy, David Copperfield, my dad. We all hanging out. You only look back now and see that these are real legends. And so I'm very lucky, and it's great now that as I said, the president of the Magic Circle, that we're able to sort of give back a bit and do a lot of work for Magic's been very good to me, so I'm delighted to be able to give back now.
I love hearing that and the passion in your voice when you're saying it. I mean, I hope my son, who's 4 now, Lonnie, named after Lonnie Donegan, I've taken him to a few shows that I've done festivals with. I got to know Madness really well, and he ended up on the stage at Belfast dancing with Madness. I mean, at the moment he's at the age where he isn't too sure, but we're so lucky to have phones these days. We can take photographs and videos that later on in life, I hope he looks back at that and goes, my dad was quite cool. And you mentioned the Magic Circle there. Now, I've been a member since 2023, a very proud member, and spoke to you about it earlier. When I first walked through the door of the Magic Circle headquarters, I can't describe it, but you'll know what I mean. You walk through there and you just feel something when you go, wow. And I know some of the greats, past and present, who have walked through there. And I got a little bit of like imposter syndrome, thinking, how have I ended up here? And then, of course, I met yourself, I met Nicholas Einhorn, I met loads of magicians who I've had either books of, watched videos of, or people who inspired me into watching magic. And I'm thinking, how has this happened? But it's just this lovely feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel the Magic Circle is a very special place. Just for those that don't know, it's the headquarters of probably the most premier magic society in the world. We've got roughly 1,750 members worldwide, including the elite magicians and those who have passed exams to get to that status, because you've got to do an exam to get to that stage or have a good reputation, etc. And there's various degrees that you can get to, and in fact, the highest degree is called a member of the Inner Magic Circle with Gold Star, and there's less than 250 of those in the world. And it's actually the president that bestows that honor. So I'm either very popular or very unpopular, depending what it is. But you said about that building, it really is special, and it's an anonymous-looking building down a cobbled street behind Euston, but it's the home, the center of the magic arts. We call it the House of 10,000 Secrets, the history of mystery. I mean, you go into this building, and as you say, all the greats have been there, and every wall is full of fantastic memorabilia and posters and collections and props and stuff. We have a museum downstairs. We have a library of over 13,000 magic books. We have a club room and the Devant room, which is the parlor room, and then upstairs, you wouldn't believe, through this floating staircase, which is an amazing, beautiful staircase. It's like a TARDIS. You wouldn't expect to see the amount of space we have in this area, but you look down the staircase and up it with all the history and mystery on the walls. We actually have a theatre which houses 164 seats, and we put on special shows and different things for the public and for corporates and for private events. And so I'm very proud of what we do now. Some really good things.
And as I said, I am so proud of being a member of it, because as you say, some of the most elite magicians, I remember those. I mean, when I saw the list of who was in it, I was like, this is crazy. And, it's so interesting to know, that different stages. So obviously I've been there 2023, just, I think, so I would just have your standard.
So you start off once you've passed your exam or audition, and it just, let's be clear about it, to do an exam is a very difficult situation, because you've got 60 or 70 or 80, 100 magicians watching you while you've got 10 or 12 minutes to do your thing. And it's a difficult it's not the most comfortable compared to doing it in the real world, because you think that they must know everything, but it's not about that. It's about, you judge from presentation, showmanship, sleight of hand, misdirection, all those types of things. And then if you pass a certain amount, you then become a member. And then from that, the next thing by exam is called the Associate of the Inner Magic Circle, the Silver Star, which is the highest degree you can get by exam. And then the final thing would be a member of the Inner Magic Circle, Gold Star, which is bestowed on you if you've done certain things or something very special. Very rare though. Those are.
So the silver one would be the next one, and would that be an examination as well,
It would be, yeah.
or a performance one deal? 12 minutes as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get in your good books here.
But no, this is go for it. It's really good. I mean, and people, especially like you, when you got a reputation in magic, you sort of tend to think, oh, I'm not so sure, because it's like going for a competition or something. You feel, unless I come first, oh, it's not good for my reputation. But it is. It's great. People get to see you, and you get to focus. What and learn to perform under those conditions. But no, it's a great place, and I'd thoroughly recommend it. And if you're into magic, just to come and visit some of our shows, look on the website. There's some really great shows.
It's stunning, and something you touched on there, which I didn't realise until after, was how is all this fitted into this? From the outside, you think that's a small building. How's all this going to go in there? And it weren't until I was in there that I thought it's like a magic trick itself too. Because as you say, the museum, which is got memorabilia and props used by some of the greats. I mean, you got the Tommy Cooper's and the bottle, and that is a trick that I use in my act, and people love it. Now I do it in a different way to Tommy Cooper, because I would never copy, like the way he did it was his own way. So I had to try and find my own modern day touch to that, to represent my personality. And to see them props there, and I think if I'm right, you've got Paul Daniels' chop cup as well.
Is that there? I've got lots of stuff from Paul, and even the shoes that Dio walks across the water on. We've got Houdini's straight jackets and handcuffs. The King, believe it or not, is a member, and in my 50 years ago, he did the cups and balls. His actual cups and balls are in there as well. So, yeah, it's a great place. Really worth looking at.
Was he any good at the cups and balls?
Well, who's gonna? They just say no. We're not. Yeah, I think no. I'm sure he practiced really well.
But that's something that when I found that out, I was like, that is incredible. And am I right in saying there is, now, if I get this wrong, forgive me, there is a non-human being who is a member as well? And whenever I say that, it really racks people's brains. But am I right in saying it's Sooty?
Yeah, Sooty is the first non-human member that we have. Yeah, Sooty, obviously, 2 or 3 generations grew up with that from the original Harry Corbett, and then Matthew Corbett's son, and now Richard Cadell looks after the Sooty franchise and stuff. And so the actual Sooty puppet is in our museum. Yeah.
And what are you doing with yourself lately? Now I know tonight you're doing a gig. Am I right in saying it?
Yeah.
So you're a very busy person, to be fair, and I'm quite glad that I've managed to get you down for 45 minutes or so to sit down and have a chat with me. Because
it's a pleasure. Honestly, it's they say if you want something done, ask a busy person. So yeah. Tonight I'm at the Savoy Hotel. There's the Childline Gala. Esther Ranson's charity that she set up with, and I think her daughter and a few others are putting on a really great evening there to raise money for that. So I'm and a couple of magicians will be sorting stuff out for that tonight and making sure people are in good time. And so I do a lot of things related to charities these days, and still do my own gigs when they specifically ask me. But what I've been doing recently, I'm very proud of, is we have a President's Night at the Magic Circle, and started off that I donated one of these to another charity that I was affiliated, called Ways of Sunshine, which is for sick children, really, and it was auctioned off at Claridge's. They had 2 very nice offers on it. We took them both, and one of them asked if it could be re-auctioned at another charity, and I got on stage and talked about it to very influential audience, and both of them raised over 50 grand that night, so 100 grand that night for charities, and we'll be invite them in, and selection of my favourite magicians. They had museum tour with a bit of magic, some magicians in the club room. I do my parlour act in the vamp room, and then they go upstairs to a show, and it's really great, and they love it to bits. And we've raised already, just this year, 150 grand.
Wow. Wow. And of course, with Marvin's Magic as well. I mean, you've gone into everything's technology these days, isn't it? You know, with phones, everyone's glued to their phone. You brung out a set a while ago based all around technology, didn't you?
Yeah, we always try to, I mean, Marvin's Magic, we always try to be up to date with things and see the various trends. And magic's actually a very traditional art form. But so we take some of the old tradition, but combine it with some of the latest technology. And the apps and all that was very key at the time. And this was some few years ago. We actually won a design award for best electronic toy. And what it was, there's magic rated to your phone, so it had augmented reality in it. So in other words, you could focus your phone on something, and the Marvin's Magic character would pop up and do magic. But every trick in the set would work, but it would also work in conjunction with some additional tricks that were in the app. And so that was very innovative of the time. But things move at such a pace that we now just give that free with all of our tricks. So, for example, you might be familiar with the trick which is called lights from anywhere, where you can literally pluck a red light and throw it to hand, put it through your ears and stuff like that. Have a lot of fun with it, you know, go to a lift and press the lift and pick it up and look at it and put it back and see the reaction from people's faces. And it's, you know, that's a good trick in itself. But we have a version on our phone which says, you show your phone, you say, oh, recharge battery. It's cool. And then you take the light and you put it into your phone, and the light would flicker down and appear stage by stage to recharge your battery into the pings, you know. So that would just be one of 20 extra bonus tricks that we do. So we're always trying to come up with innovative stuff, you know.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I've always wanted to bring out my own book for children. So can we expect to see a Marvin's Magic and Magic Mod collaboration anytime soon?
Of course we can. We've thankfully collaborated with some of the best people around the world and stuff. So if you've got an idea, always interested to hear and see how it works. I mean, Rubik's Cube, for example, was obviously huge in magic, and was really delighted a few years ago when Erno Rubik, the designer of Rubik's Cube, and his team came to us, and we actually designed a magic set specifically for him, and then went to Germany to launch it. And so he designed all magic racing to Rubik's Cube type of stuff, and really was able to perform it to him and get some smiles, and that was fantastic. We've done some stuff with this young kid who does this unboxing stuff in the States a few years ago called Ryan's World. And he's massive, you know. And we did some stuff with them, and you know, I like to put magic in places where it's not normally. Like you might see some of our magic on British Airways, or up in cereal packs, or as the eggs, or you know, whatever. So we would try to put magic in different places. But in terms of collaborations, yeah, there's different ways of doing it. Obviously, if you've got an idea and you think it's going to work, and you think we can, you know, you can market it, we can either make it or do it together. We'll talk about that.
Brilliant. Well, that's music to my ears, to be honest with you, because as I say, as a kid growing up, magic was there for me. And, you know, I knew I got so much out of reading these books that whenever I see youngsters and they come up to me and they say, how do I get into magic? The first thing I always say is go and check out Marvin's Magic. And I'm not just saying that because you're in front of me. It's something that I always say because I know how easy it is and accessible it is. And I'd like to just touch on this one as well before we go. There's the trick that I still use that I got in a Marvin set, the coin trick. Now, that's something that you can perform as a child and as an adult, and it still baffles people. And the reactions speak for themselves, don't they? I mean, it really is magic made simple, isn't it?
Magic, yeah, professional magic made easy, and it really is. It's a beautiful trick. If I think I know the way you're talking about, and it's engineered beautifully. But you could do it, and it's all about your presentation. You concentrate on that, and it's mind blowing when you see it, isn't it?
It really is. And I mean, listen, I could talk to you for hours, and I mean that because there's so much I want to ask you and want to know and pick your brains about. Because you've seen it all and done it all in magic, you know, you really have. And to be in the shoes you are is incredible. To be the president of the Magic Circle And for me to be sitting here with you, this is something that a young 6-year-old me would never believe would happen. So I just want to say from me, thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you, man. Me too. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you.